Welcome to the Online Success Journey podcast, your opportunity to discover and learn from entrepreneurs like yourself. This is not your typical podcast, but a place where you can get the real story and find out how real people encounter speed bumps and detours, but journey through to find success. Now here's your host for the Online Success Journey podcast, Patience.
Hello everyone and welcome to Online Success Journey. This is episode 237. Today we have Reed Goossens, a real estate investor, entrepreneur, author, public speaker, and a podcast host of Investing in the US. Hello, Reed.
Hello, Patience. Thank you very much for having me on the show.
Thank you for coming. I know the client is anxious to hear your story, so let's get started with the basics. Can you tell my client a bit about your background, about what you did before you went into the real estate?
Yeah, sure. So I'm originally from Australia, and I moved to the United States back in 2012, and I moved here to try and chase a dream. You know, I moved here to become an expat. My background is in structural engineering. And I moved here without a job. I have an American girlfriend. She's now my wife. And the whole reason we moved to the United States was to live in the US and be an expat in New York City. And when I moved here, I didn't have a job. And I pounded the streets until I found one. And I found a job in structural engineering. And within, I think, the first month of being fresh off the boat, I was at my real estate networking event in New York City, learning about the benefits of investing in the US. And realizing that the barriers to entry into the United States real estate market was so much lower than what they are in Australia. And so within, I think, 6 months, I had to figure out my finances. And I bought my first little property in upstate New York, which is about a 4-hour drive from where I was living in New York City. And I bought it for $38,000. And I was blown away at just how cheap property is and was in the United States. And, the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which I'm a huge fan of, he talks about making passive income to try and achieve financial freedom. And that was the start of what I've got down over the last 7 years, how I've gone down the path of trying to achieve financial freedom. And I have achieved financial freedom in 7 years. I currently am the co-founder of Wildhorn Capital. Obviously, I'm a public speaker. I'm a best-selling author. My podcast is called Investing in the US. And my business controls about $175 million worth of US multifamily. And I say that not to boast, but to sort of inspire people that if I can move halfway across the world and I came to the United States with no job, no network, no family members, and give it a go, give it a crack, as I say, and within 7 years achieve financial freedom. If I can do that, then so can the average person. So yeah, that's a little bit about my story.
Background, Reed. You said you went and became bold. You went to the other world and became bold. Wow.
Exactly.
Okay. What is the most dangerous belief an entrepreneur can have?
The most dangerous belief, I think, is not what you've got to learn to do when you're an entrepreneur is you have to learn to bet on yourself. And when I say bet on yourself, I mean that if you can't back yourself in terms of your decision making and your ability to go out and figure it out, and you might not have the answers today, but entrepreneurs get into this habit of self-doubt. And when you have self-doubt, you're not going to ever take any action and move forward, and you just stay in the same position where you are today. You might not have it all figured out right this second, but you've got to bet that you will figure it out. You've got to back yourself. And so the biggest mistake that I see people just frankly not even getting started. They want to have all these aspirations to do all this stuff, but they never get started. The second thing I'll say with entrepreneurs is patience. Things don't happen overnight. Things will take years to develop. Achieving financial freedom is not just at a drop of a hat. And we see all these things on social media where people are talking about how quickly they've achieved financial freedom through online marketing or online businesses or real estate or whatever it might be. But the fact is, it takes time, and it might take 5, 6, 7, 10 years to achieve. And that's okay, because if you have that right mindset on the front end when you go into this journey, then you're not going to give up, because the fact is it's going to take a long time. And, as Tony Robbins says, you can overestimate what you can achieve in a year, but you can underestimate what you can achieve in a decade. And that's exactly true. 10 years ago, I picked up the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. In 2009. 10 years later, I'm now sitting on this call at 7 a.m. in the morning talking to you and about how I've achieved financial freedom. And trust me, Patience, I wanted to achieve it quicker than what I did. but it's my journey, right? And I have to run my own race. So the two big lessons is learning to back yourself and bet on yourself that you can do this business. And the second thing is patience. It's going to take time. It's not going to happen overnight. So if you have those two pieces in spades or in plentifulness, you'll be able to go off and be successful.
Why do you do what you do?
Why? I do what I do. Originally, I did what I did because I was so frustrated with being an employee. I didn't want to be an employee. I didn't want to work for someone else. I wanted to have my most valuable asset back to me, my time, where I don't have to ask someone, oh, can I have 2 weeks off at the end of the year to go home and see my family in Australia? I don't want to have to ask people to do that. I wanted to be able to do it on my own. So the big thing for me is like before I became financially free was my North Star was becoming financially free and quitting my job. And I did that. I was able to achieve that about 2.5 years ago. Now what I do is I have a business, a successful business that I need to make sure my investors are getting a really good return on their investment because that's what I'm in the business of. I'm in the business of real estate investing. So my now new North Star is making sure I have a portfolio that is successful for my investors. They've trusted me with their investments to get me to this point today. It's now my duty to make sure that I take that on and make sure that they all have a really good return on investment over the life of whatever deal they're invested with me in.
Let's put a man aside. How do you know you are successful?
Well, success is a weird word, and it can mean many different things to different people. In my definition of success is being able to do what I want, when I want, with who I want, whenever I want. And that's really important to me. And that comes down to that time piece again. But the thing that motivates me is that I have a fear of regret. And I remember before I left Australia and I quit my job back in 2011, end of 2011, and then moved to the United States in early 2012, I was very nervous when I did that. And I was very nervous that I didn't have, I was all in, right? I was betting on myself. I was backing myself. But what I was most proud of, and we'll call it success, is that I actually went out and did it. I didn't talk about it. I went out and did it. And I said to myself, even if I give this a go, even if I move to the United States and it fails, at least I can say I gave it a go. And I won't wake up when I'm 65 or 70 years of age and go, geez, I wish I have regret. So many people have that. Life passes them by in the blink of an eye and they have regret. And so the big thing for me is that take away the money away is the fact that I gave it a crack, gave it a go, and I won't have regret in the future because I'm living my life today and I'm living my life on my terms. So that is what my definition of success is, without the money.
Wow. Wow. Tell us how to develop a cracking A-team to help you be successful.
Yeah, so a cracking A-team, look, it's no matter what business you are, whether it be real estate or online marketing or you have a service-based business, you're going to need people around you because being an entrepreneur is a team sport. Running a successful business is a team sport, and you can't do it all yourself, nor should you have the skill set, nor should you think that you need the skill set to do it by yourself. So in my business, we have there's different people and different team members that sit on my team that help me be successful, like my lawyer, like my real estate broker who brings me deals, like my tax accountant, like my executive assistant. And I have a couple other team members in terms of our property management team, and I have a general contractor who's really, really good. So they're sort of 4, 5, 6 people that are really influential in my business and helping me be successful, helping me make sure I'm seeing what's coming down the road in terms of any risks in the future. But if you apply that to other businesses, you're going to need team members like a lawyer to help you with, navigating any legal issues when you're starting a business. You might need a business partner because a lot of people get involved in businesses and realize how overwhelming it is because there's a lot to do. If you can find a partner who can come onto your team, a business partner who's 50-50 in the business or whatever it is, 70-30, and they take on some of the responsibilities, and they might be someone who has a skill set that's different to you and complements your skill set, then that means you can go off and be more effective over many different tasks. So making sure that you're having the cracking team, as I say, around you is really influential to your success. Now, I will say that your team members change all the time, and when you get started, you might have a few bad eggs in your team, and you're gonna have to replace them out. And that's okay. But over time, you'll refine your team. You'll get better team members who have your interest, your best interest at their heart for them, and they want to make sure that you are successful. I've had many examples of bad team members that I had to get rid of in the past, but that was my journey. That was my lessons that I learned. It's all about making sure that you're surrounding yourself with people that can help you be the most successful when it comes to whatever the business you are. And you've got to identify those roles and responsibilities that maybe you can't do. Like, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't try to be a lawyer. I try to be a business owner. So I need to go hire a good lawyer to make sure that he has my best legal interests at heart. A tax accountant. I'm not great at taxes, but I know enough to be dangerous. But that's why I have a tax guy involved, and he makes sure I have everything covered in terms of the business, and all my investors are covered. My executive assistant, she's just great at being my right-hand gal, so to speak. She can take on tasks that I don't need to take on. So there's a lot of people on my team that I make day in, day out that help me be successful.
What is the secret to create a personal brand?
Yes, a personal brand. So a personal brand, in 2020, people are going to be Googled, right? It's the age of Google. It's the age of being online and being a social media presence. Having a brand, a personal brand, is really important from any business organization, because people are going to, particularly when you get started out, if you have a story, my story is that I moved to the United States. My story is that I started investing in real estate, and my story is that I quit my job in Australia and gave this thing a go. I started my podcast about 4 years ago called Investing in the US. And at the time, I was struggling to understand the basic premise of what's a credit score, how to get credit here in the United States. What's an LLC, a limited liability company? What's an EIN number, which is to do with starting an LLC? All these things that other foreign investors would probably find very interesting. I said, I'm going to go start a podcast about it, because there was no one talking to the international investor about the benefits of investing in the United States. So I said, well, hang on, I'm doing stuff. I'm doing stuff here on the ground. It might only be small scale right now, but if I created a platform where people can learn from, and I can create around my story, then that's essentially me being the brand. My brand is Reed Goossens. My brand is my business. And ultimately, patients, people will invest in your business or buy your product or do whatever that helps your business because of you as the brand. The deal and the business itself actually comes secondarily. So they look at you, particularly in the real estate game, they look at me, Reed Goossens, first. They want to see that they can trust me. They want to see that I'm down to earth, that I'm open, I'm transparent. And then that is what they make their decision on. That's their first decision, and they haven't even seen a real estate deal yet. So they base it really on trust. And if my brand is not about me as a person, then they can't establish that trust and relationship to then want to come and invest in my deal and make my business grow.
What have you learned from business as a whole?
Oh, that's a good one. What have I learned from business as a whole? It's challenging. It's a constant challenge. It is uncertainty. There's so many different aspects of business, but it has also created resolve in me. It's created an ability to learn how to grind. I learned how to roll up the sleeves and get dirty. It is a relentless business that if you don't work, it doesn't work. And so putting your blood, sweat, and tears into a business is really, really important. What I've also learned, is other facets in life are super important as much as the business part is. And I break it down into a couple of things in life. And the first one being health. There's wealth, there's love, and there's self-awareness in my mind. And when I say it, these are pillars of life, right? And I've learned through family loss and through my my journey towards financial freedom is that you see a lot of people who are very successful in business, a lot of men and women who are very, very successful, but they have a crappy, personal life. Their health is up the creek. They have their kids don't love them. They don't like them because it's always at work. So I think the biggest thing that I've learned on this journey is that you have to be a really good business owner and entrepreneur. you have to make sure your health is in good, is good. You have to make sure that you've got good relationships with your wife, your girlfriend, your mum, your dad, your sons and daughters. You have to also make sure that you have a self-awareness that can come in the forms of spirituality or religion or meditation or whatever you want to call it. But there's an element of self-awareness that you are remaining grounded. And I think all those things are super important and form the other pillars in your life. And if you only rely on one pillar, which is the business, and that fails or that goes away, then there's only one way to go, and that's down, and you're going to hit rock bottom. So making sure that you'll have an equal balance across the other pillars in life will make you a better business owner, will make you a better entrepreneur, and will make your business more successful.
Give us 3 top tips for someone who's out there who wants to really join the real estate investing. What are your 3 top tips would you give them?
Yes, so the 3 top tips, and this applies to any business. This is not just real estate. So the 3 top tips for me is first and foremost is education. Education is key. And no matter what your business, real estate, online businesses, service-based business, whatever business you have, you need to become educated in that space. And it's 2020. Ignorance is not an excuse anymore. There's so much information out there that you can go out and get started. In the real estate space, there's a lot of local, in the different markets around the United States, there's a lot of local real estate networking events. So getting along to real estate networking events is really, really important. In your particular niche of whatever the business is you're doing, see if there's any online meetups. Go to meetup.com and see if there's any other like-minded people out there who want to meet up for coffee, or you can go learn off one another and bounce ideas off. So getting educated and surrounding yourself with people who are like-minded is the most important step. The second most important step is finding a mentor to build credibility. A mentor is super important because if you're the smartest person in the room, then you need to go change the room that you're in. My success has been also very much reliant upon having good mentors in my life who I've aspired to be, and I've paid for these people. It doesn't come free, but these people I can learn from, and I can build my credibility, and I can build the resolve within me that I know that I could go do this business because I had those types of people on my team showing me the way. So having a mentor is really, really important. And then obviously the third thing is taking action. So once you get the education, you find a mentor, you learn from your mentor, but then you've got to go and implement it and take action. There's so many people that stop at the first step. They educate themselves and never do anything. They keep going to seminars. They keep going and paying the gurus to tell them stuff, but they don't actually do anything with it. It's important that the last step is so important to actually go and take action. And as I said before, earlier in the show, you might not have all the answers at this point in time, but you just need to get going. And, the old Chinese proverb, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The next best time is right now. And that's so important when it comes to business. You've got to go and take action. You've got to go and start putting one foot in front of the other and start the long process of creating something from nothing. So, yeah, that's the 3 things.
What is the most valuable thing your mentors has told you?
Oh, it's a couple of things there. I think that it's more, personally for me, it was more to do with the fact that I paid them a sum of money for them to be my mentor. It was a couple of $1,000s. I wasn't paying $20,000 or $30,000, and I don't recommend people do that. I recommend finding a mentor who you resonate with. But the act of parting way with that money meant that I was all in. I'm putting money. I'm betting on myself. That's the bet that I make. I'm paying this person money to help me be successful. Now they're only going to show me the way or guide me some of the way. But if I don't, that old saying, you lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. You have to take action from that. So the 2 things were that it gave me permission to go off and be successful, but I also bet on myself. I paid money for these mentors plural, and I was able to take myself seriously. And so the things that I've learned from them is there's so many things. There's not one thing that I've learned, but in the beginning I was able to take myself seriously enough that I wanted to spend money on my education and on my self-development. And that was the most important thing, to get started was to part way with that money, to say I am worth it, and I am worth, investing some time and energy and money into my self-development.
What is one thing no one knows about you?
One thing not many people know about me is that I rode horses growing up. I love horses. I didn't ride expensive horses. I rode ex-race horses from the racetrack, and we tried to do show jumping with them. We lived on a small farm, and I love horse riding and I love show jumping. It's something that you wouldn't know maybe about me. The other thing is I also love surfing. It's two pastimes I really, really enjoy, and it's gets the juices flowing within me. So those two things are probably something that people don't know about me.
What grounds you?
A constant daily practice of meditation, a constant daily practice of being grateful, and a constant daily practice or weekly practice of journaling and checking in with my wife, and knowing that with all success, you've come from nothing. You've created this thing from nothing, and you've got to constantly remind yourself of that. So it's not about the car that you drive or the house you live in or the gold watch you wear on your wrist. It's about, are you happy as a person across all those pillars I was talking about earlier, and making sure that you're consistently checking in with your loved ones, with yourself, with the meditation piece, and always remain down to earth. My mum and dad instilled in me a very good work ethic. They were both just high school teachers. They worked very hard, but nothing in terms of, we come from a very middle class family. But they always taught me to be always down to earth. Be a down to earth, approachable person. Don't ever get your heads in the cloud. And so being grounded and having that upbringing, it was super important for me today as I go off and try and achieve what I'm trying to achieve.
Tell us more about your business.
My business, okay. So what we do is we buy large commercial real estate properties here in the United States, specifically in Austin, Texas, and San Antonio. What we do is we go in and we buy apartment buildings. It's a thing called multifamily. And we typically buy an apartment building or buildings which, between 200-300 units. And we look for apartment buildings built in the late 80s, early 90s that maybe a little bit run down. Maybe the current in-place rent on some of the units are below what the market can handle. So we will go in and we'll implement a renovation strategy, and we'll renovate all the units. We'll renovate all the amenities. We'll try and create the amenities to be like a hotel type feel. So we'll put a new gym, new leasing center, pools if we have to, new landscaping. We'll rebrand the property, and we really will go in and try and shift that net operating income, the NOI. So when you shift the net operating income, if you do that, you can increase the value of the business, and thus you can increase the cash flow. And so we typically aim for what we like to call blue collar neighborhoods, transitioning neighborhoods, path of progress neighborhoods, in our two cities. And investors, they come along for the ride. So you think of real estate syndication, think of it like a plane, like an aeroplane, flying from LA, which is where I live, to London, which is maybe where you live. And if I was to go and hire an aeroplane by myself, it would be really expensive to fly that distance. But if I go and split the cost with 100 other investors or 100 passengers, they all get to enjoy the journey. And the journey is going from LA to London. And I'm the captain, and I have my co-pilot, and then I have some people who sit in first class, and then I've got all my investors who sit in the back in economy, and they're enjoying the flight, and they're getting involved in a flight that they might not necessarily have had access to in the past. And they get to enjoy, investing in a deal that is real estate, and they get the benefits of cash flow, taxation benefits, and appreciation. And so it's a win-win situation for all of us. We all get to get on a plane together. And I use the plane analogy because that's the simplest way to think about it, is that we split the cost of hiring this big plane, or in my case, buying a big, large, $20, $30, $40 million property, and we split that between all our investors, but they get to benefit in getting involved in a large property. It reduces their risk, and we get to go take down a bigger deal because the sum of our investors means that we can go take on a larger asset. And then they get to benefit from all the hard work we do, and they're passive investors. They don't lift a finger. and they get to enjoy the journey and the ride, which is they get cash flow and they get appreciation over a 4, 5, 6 year hold. So yeah, that's the business.
If someone wants to work with you, how will they find you and how can we connect with you?
The easiest way is to go to reedgoossens.com. That's reedgoossens.com. And there's when you go there, there's 2 buttons. It says invest with Reed or work with Reed. And you can click on either one of those buttons and you can fill out your information and we'll get in contact.
Wow. But before we go there, what is your clientele?
My ideal clientele is probably people in their mid-40s who have 6-figure incomes and who don't have necessarily the time or the energy to go and find real estate deals, but they know the benefits of having real estate in their portfolio, and they want to invest passively, and they want to rely on someone like myself. So my ideal client has some residual income that they can use to invest in real estate developments.
So, client, there will be more from Reed in a moment. If you are listening on one of the many podcasting platforms rather than my website and you are encouraged by Reed's journey, go to onlinesuccessjourney.com for a bonus portion of the interview. The Online Success Journey is a wonderful membership community built for people searching for the path to success. We are one big clan and you can be part of this community for free. Once you have joined the clan, click on part 2 of Reed's journey or over 200 plus other journeys that are available and learn how you can find the right path for your own online success journey. That's a wrap, clan. Remember, success is a journey. Patience and Reed.
This is not the end of the journey. We hope you've enjoyed listening to part 1 and want to be sure you know there is a second part to this and every journey podcast at onlinesuccessjourney.com, filled with even more success tips, uplifting stories, and even a bit of fun. There are dozens of episodes only available to the members of the Online Success Journey clan. Check out the website and click on Join the Clan for more information. Patience would like to thank you for listening to this podcast, and she has a free audio gift for you at her website. Go to onlinesuccessjourney.com for instant access to this gift. Of course, you know that listening to the journeys of others helps each of us chart our own path. So make sure you're subscribed to be notified as each new interview is posted. There are so many ways to stay connected to the Online Success Journey and to listen in. And if you're enjoying the podcast, we appreciate your help in telling others. One of the best ways to share the benefit you get is to rate and review it at Stitcher and other sites by clicking the stars or completing the ratings form, by clicking thumbs up and leaving a comment on YouTube, or liking and sharing the podcast on social media. To review the podcast within iTunes, simply open iTunes to the podcast, click on Ratings and Reviews, then write a review. On behalf of Patience, and until next time, thanks once more for listening. It is our hope that this podcast will guide you on your own online success journey.